Hello, and welcome to Unleashing the Power of GenAI, GenAI and Hyperautomation. Today's webinar is sponsored by Persistent, OutSystems, and UiPath, and produced by Actual Tech Media. My name is Scott Becker. I'm from Actual Tech, and I am excited to be your moderator for this special event. Now, before we get to today's great content, we have 4 housekeeping items that will help you get the most out of this session. First off, we want this to be an informative event for you, so we encourage any questions in the questions box in your webinar control panel. So not only will we have team members responding to questions during the live event, but we'll also have a dedicated Q&A session at the end of the presentation where we'll discuss in greater detail some of the top questions that you ask. That Q&A panel is also the place to let us know about any technical issues that you might be experiencing. A browser refresh will fix most audio, video, and slide advancement issues. But if that doesn't work, let us know in the Q&A and we'll provide further technical assistance. Now, second, in the handout section of your webinar control panel, you're going to find that we're offering several resources. I'd especially like to call your attention to a data sheet on the partnership, a report on intelligent automation for better process automation, a point of view on intelligent automation by Persistent, an AssistX video, and an opportunity to schedule a demo. So a ton of great resources there. I encourage you to access those now and share them with your friends and colleagues. Now, third, at the end of this webinar event, we will be awarding a $250 Amazon gift card to one lucky registrant. Of course, you must be in attendance during the live event to qualify for the prize. The official terms and conditions of today's prize drawing can be found in your handout section as well. Just scroll to the bottom and you'll find the prize terms and conditions link there. Now, finally, one of the best benefits of this event is the opportunity to ask a question of our expert presenters. So to help encourage your questions, we have a special additional prize for you. That's another Amazon gift card, this one for $50 for the best question. So after the event is over, we'll look at all the questions that came in, pick out the very best one, and contact that prize winner. Okay, with all of that out of the way, let's get to today's timely discussion. So it's my pleasure to introduce you to our presenters today. We have Nishay from Persistent, who will lead us off. Then we'll hear from David from UiPath. Next, we'll have Luis, who will give us the OutSystems perspective. And finally, Persistent's Chitral will come on for a demo. So I'd like to bring on Nishay now. Nishay, welcome. Thanks for being here.
Well, thanks, Scott. Good morning, good evening, everyone. I hope I'm audible and I'm visible as well.
You are. Yep. Take it away.
Okay, perfect. All right, I'll start with a quick introduction to Persistent. So Persistent is a global IT services company delivering digital engineering and enterprise modernization. More than 3 decades old and more than 23,000 employees spread across the globe. And we reached $1 billion in revenue last year. We serve customers across industries, including banking and financial services, insurance, high-tech, healthcare and life sciences, among others. In this webinar event, we, of course, have OutSystems and UiPath as our partners. As you already know, OutSystems is one of the leading low-code platform company, and they've been our top strategic partner for 7 years now. We have a 360-degree relationship with OutSystems in multiple areas, the key ones being legacy modernization and low-code app development. Similarly, we have UiPath here, which is, of course, an end-to-end intelligent automation company, and they have core strengths in RPA. We are a UiPath Gold partner, and we have deep-knit partnerships since the past several years across technology areas such as RPA, intelligent document processing, and process intelligence. What's interesting is that we at Persistent have been working very closely with both OutSystems and UiPath in a lot of our most scaled customers to enable hyperautomation. And I'm sure David and Luis will touch upon this partnership further once they come on board. I wanted to kickstart today by going back and looking at the evolution of automation space itself. Automation of manual intensive tasks is, of course, not new and has been around since quite some time. Traditional automation itself involved the use of macros, data scraping, and so on. And while these were successful to automate certain tasks, the challenges far outweighed the benefits. There were inherent challenges such as integration issues, security concerns, among others. This saw the emergence and rise of robotic process automation, or RPA, which involved using software bots to automate highly manual repetitive tasks. As AI/ML became more and more mature, RPA gradually gave way to intelligent automation, which is essentially an amalgamation of technology areas, including low-code app dev, intelligent document processing or IDP, process intelligence, and intelligent virtual agents, among others. This is also popularly referred to as hyperautomation, and this led to more and more compelling outcomes for enterprise customers. And today we are in this era of intelligent automation 2.0 with the advent of generative AI and LLMs, right? And generative AI is augmenting this end-to-end intelligent automation stack even further and turbocharging the use cases. We're now able to automatically generate new content and automate use cases which were not even possible up till now. And this is a quick snapshot of how we're defining intelligent automation 2.0. You see the end-to-end technology stack at the top, which we just discussed. And all of this is getting augmented further using generative AI or GenAI. At the bottom, you see all the offerings spanning consulting, development, automation factory, and DevSecOps. We have core expertise and IPs in several areas, which form our core differentiators. And we have industry-leading partnerships with all the top platform companies across this tech stack, as you can see. Now, diving a bit deeper into the GenAI space itself, in terms of the market size, GenAI is poised to be a $1.3 trillion market by 2032, growing at a massive 40% plus CAGR. As much as $10 trillion is expected to be added to the global GDP over the next 10 years due to GenAI. So clearly a lot of traction on generative AI, and the numbers is truly staggering, as we can see. In terms of the supply side ecosystem, there are four major players active within GenAI. We have hyperscalers, we have startups or unicorn companies, we have service providers, and then finally we have the intelligent automation platforms themselves. If you look at the hyperscalers, we know that all the hyperscalers have taken the lead in terms of investments into GenAI. So Microsoft, of course, has a deep partnership with OpenAI, pumping in more than $13 billion. They have been the front runners in launching GenAI to the market. On the other hand, Google has more focus on building their own proprietary LLMs, including Lambda, including Palm 2 and Gemini. Amazon has taken a hybrid approach while they have their own LLM Titan, but they interestingly also support other popular LLMs such as from AI21, Anthropic, Meta, among others, right? And in fact, both Google and Amazon have also pumped in more than $2 billion each into Anthropic for their Claude LLM. Quickly zooming into the startup space, there are more than 1,000 startups which are functional and mushrooming across the globe, specifically focused on GenAI. This space, of course, is red hot currently in terms of investments, and the GenAI startups have raked in close to $50 billion funding till date. And there are more than 20 such unicorns already there, with popular ones being companies like OpenAI, Anthropic, Inflection AI, among others, right? Most of these popular ones, most of these unicorns have their own LLMs that they built. Service providers, of course, form an important part of this entire ecosystem because they are partnering with and orchestrating all the other players, including the hyperscalers, including startups, and even the intelligent automation platforms, in order to implement GenAI-powered use cases for enterprise customers. And Persistent, of course, has been at the forefront in terms of riding this GenAI wave. I'm happy to report that we have very strategic, deep-rooted partnerships with all the leading hyperscalers, such as Microsoft, Google, Amazon, IBM, and Salesforce. We have set up a dedicated GenAI COE early last year, and close to 16,000 professionals are being certified on GenAI as we speak. What's interesting is that we are the customer zero for GenAI, meaning that we are implementing GenAI internally to power our own workflows and empowering our own engineering workforce with GenAI as well. The next one are intelligent automation platforms. And as we all know, all the leading automation platforms are currently embedding GenAI within their own products. And this is being done in order to supercharge the benefits that customers are able to derive from intelligent automation today. I will not spend a lot of time on this since I'm sure Louis and David will go deeper into these aspects in their sessions, but I'll touch upon how GenAI is essentially powering the entire intelligent automation or hyper automation stack that we saw earlier. As you can see, this is the art of the possible, right? So this is how generative AI is augmenting the hyper automation tech areas, be it virtual agents or be it low code, IDP, RP, or even process intelligence. GenAI is revolutionizing the entire hyper automation stack. This is, of course, a summary snapshot of the action which is either already happening today or it's in the roadmap plans for the intelligent automation platforms. And we at Persistent are also supporting a lot of our partners and AI platforms in their product engineering efforts in order to build these GenAI powered capabilities directly into their platforms. And I also have deeper dive into some of these areas, but I won't spend a lot of time here. So quickly, for example, looking at virtual agents, we can see that this is a typical life cycle of a virtual agent, and right from training the virtual agent model using synthetic data to understanding the intent that the customer has in terms of their queries, in terms of their grievances, in terms of what action they want us to do. The intent understanding gets supercharged using GenAI. The next aspect is around hyper personalization. So how do you converse in a very customized fashion with the customers themselves? Next best action, of course, forms the key prong for any virtual agent, and end-to-end aspects, right from query resolution or complaint resolution to internal routing to the best department to the best agent, and even content generation such as email responses, such as product descriptions, or even marketing messages, etc., can be done very effectively using GenAI. And finally, again, a very key aspect of GenAI being around summarizing the entire conversation and workflow and generating insights automatically, right? So pretty much end-to-end workflow can be automated and disrupted almost using GenAI. Similarly, again, with IDP, we can see that, all aspects of document, including pre-processing, classification of documents, extraction and validation, and even summarization and querying, everything gets disrupted or revolutionized using GenAI. Skip the low-code aspect and shift to the demand-side view. So clearly, there's a lot of action on the supply side, and this interest and uptake that we have on the demand side as well. So we saw this statistic earlier where this is from a McKinsey study which showcased that GenAI has the potential to unlock between $2.5 to $4.5 trillion in economic value across industries. And these are the top 5 industries which would reap the maximum impact from GenAI. We can see that BFSI is at the top, so I'll go deeper into BFSI. So this is a typical banking and financial services value chain with all the major use cases. The heat mapping that you can see is based on more than 100 customers that we have served over the past several years within BFS, and what use cases they have looked to automate, be it using RPA or low-code, IDP, or any other hyper-automation technology areas. The dark orange ones that you see are the ones with the maximum intelligent automation propensity, right? And we can clearly see the popular ones here, such as KYC, risk and fraud management, loan processing, client servicing, and investment advisory, coming out as a higher focus from an automation perspective. What we also did is we went one step ahead and we overlaid this with the focus on GenAI. And this again is based on conversations with more than 50 PFS customers and POCs that we're running today. And you can see the orange boxes overlaid on top of the heat maps. And these are the ones where GenAI has a very active focus. And there are a lot of POCs and actual implementations currently ongoing. And we can also see that clearly the ones where we have a higher AI propensity are also the ones which are top candidates for GenAI. So clearly there's a lot of overlap and interlock between GenAI and automation, and a lot of use cases which are getting powered at this intersection of automation and GenAI. I picked one such example on loan processing, and just to showcase the art of the possible here. So this is a use case, and you can see the manual process at the top, and intelligent automation was already transforming this use case. You essentially had a self-service portal, and then technologies such as RP and IDP were able to automatically extract relevant information and automate the verification of all documents, and then also guide the human agent on an approve reject recommendation. Now, interestingly, with GenAI, as you can see, the orange boxes at the bottom, this entire process, right, end to end, can get further transformed using GenAI. So, for example, GenAI chatbots will provide a lot more personalized experience to the customer applying for loan and resolve any queries in real time. It would also lead to better customer due diligence to ensure completeness of all information. So the cycle time and the to and fro sort of gets reduced. It helps generate comprehensive risk prediction report based on several permutations and combinations and a large pool of potential scenarios, and it can flag off high risk cases to the compliance officers. And they can obviously also automatically approve and reject low to medium risk cases, and at the end also summarize the entire workflow and generate reports and aggregated dashboards. So this is the art of the possible, and we are already working very closely with our partners and customers and building such highly verticalized use cases that are powered at this intersection of GenAI and automation, be it loan processing like we saw, or KYC, or be it underwriting and claims processing in insurance, or revenue cycle management in healthcare. There are a pipeline of solutions and accelerators that are already in place or being built as we speak. And I'm also proud to announce that we recently launched AssistX, which is an industry-first solution at this intersection of GenAI and hyperautomation. And this has been built in partnership with OutSystems and UiPath. So my colleague Chetal will cover this in detail towards the end, including a demo. So we will all wait for that. And I already touched upon the generative AI COE. So yeah, thanks a lot for listening patiently. That's pretty much what I had. And with that, I'll hand it over to David from UiPath. Thank you.
Thanks, Nishay. Hi, everyone. So I'm gonna jump into a little bit about UiPath. Let me start with an intro. So we've kind of compressed a whole bunch of data here, rather than take you through a series of slides introducing us. Here is us in a snapshot. I guess the key points here are when we talk about automation, there's a lot. Automation's a 1,000-year-old concept. Why is it different? The way we approach it with UiPath is to be human-centric. What we mean by that is end-to-end really starts where a human begins something and a human ends something. Systems are there along the way, but invariably they don't mesh. And so UiPath provides the automation around the edges of those systems and in the gaps between them, where a lot of productivity goes to die. It leaks. And this is a significant driver of our growth. Our growth is substantial because we're solving problems for customers. You can see what the industry is saying there about us, not just in core automation RPA, but also in the areas of intelligence with things like document processing. It's all based on a foundation of a very strong platform. And you'll appreciate our love of colors too. You'll see my slides are going to be pretty. You might have to turn down the tone control a bit on your screens. We love our color, but it's a 3-stage kind of approach we have with our platform. Discover, automate, operate. Discover is really where we find opportunities for automation. So automation is the core. It's the thread that binds all of the capabilities together. But to look into things like, where are our processes running? How efficiently are they running? Could we automate that so a human doesn't have to run it? Or could we automate part of it so that components can operate without human error and more efficiently? The automate part, which is where a lot of the AI is built in, and I'll talk about our AI strategy shortly. Generative and specialist AI. Document processing, as I said, and then the orchestration of those workflows. The combination here of AI and automation is key. Because we look at GenAI in particular and say, oh, that can do stuff that I couldn't do before. That's great, but it still has to be part of a bigger workflow. And this is the story of automation, is really to take functions that have appeared in industry over the years and then actualize it, turn it into, connect it with actions, bring data to it, make it more interactive with the rest of the organization. And that's essentially the story of UiPath. The operate is really about governance, about enterprise level capabilities, as well as flexibility in terms of deployment. Let's jump into how we view AI. And within our platform, behind the platform, this is kind of the AI perspective. And we take a very kind of nuanced approach to AI. We have AI built into our products, of course, as many do, and ongoing that'll continue. And we have specific capabilities around generative AI, specific around specialist AI. The combination is very important here. Everyone, is getting very excited about generative AI, as they should. It is an authoring capability, but there are obviously things that specialist AI is perfect for, and so it's not going to eat the world, generative or specialized. But a combination is really how we see things evolving, and so we bring the strength as it appears for different scenarios, and so we offer that nuanced approach there. And underneath all this is a trust layer. And the trust layer is very important for things like governance, for visibility, for assuring that things like PII is protected. Data doesn't flow through. Data is encapsulated, so customer data doesn't leak out. It's we don't train on that or anything like that. So this is the AI kind of perspective at UiPath. How this is employed, here are some examples here. Documents, communications. Document processing is a really big area of growth. It's one of those specialist AI areas that is one that's being fueled by, to another whole new level with generative AI, but also it's one of the areas of AI that is really coming out as a driving core business value, because a lot of the AI is still a bit speculative in our businesses these days. Embedded generative AI, of course, we're putting it in, and I'll dig into that next. How we're looking at generative AI within products, without products, helping customers get the most out of this wonderful technology. Human validation, very important. Bring humans into the loop. Generative AI has a propensity for hallucination in the wrong situation, and sometimes, but also with specialist AI, things come out and they're not quite there. So having a human review and approve as a basic function, and it could be there's other ways humans can interact with things, but those are key ones around AI to make sure that we have eyes on a very important output and to correct or improve or reject if it's not there. Process automation as well as a way of very intelligently extracting information into an automation capability, so we know what processes can be automated and then drive that ROI back to the business. So let's look at GenAI at UiPath. Three ways we think about it, and the first two are really about improving our platform, helping our customers build better automations faster, as you can see there. One on just driving the productivity side of it, and the other one is how can we build our capabilities deeper using GenAI where it makes sense to make them better. The third tier here, and I'll drill into that. I'll drill into all of these, and we'll spend some time on the last one as well, is really to say how can customers take advantage of GenAI into new experiences, into their automations. What does that look like? And so we'll identify three different underlying patterns that use cases generally map to, and show you a little bit about how we're thinking about that. On the productivity side, introduce that little guy on the left. That's called Autopilot. That's our name for our new GenAI built capability to really supercharge the people. Who are the people driving automations in different ways? Developers, testers, analysts. And these are the sort of things I want to do. Create automations. Of course, GenAI is an authoring technology. Development, is the ultimate IT authoring technology, right? Authoring process. So the combination there is very powerful. Create automations faster. Create them better. Have the human obviously review them, but really just get through the work faster and then drive higher quality output. So really taking the highest level of skill and de-skilling it down so the humans can focus on other things. Create test cases, just bang, I want to do this. Describe it in human terms, because this is what I want to test, the scenario I want to test. GenAI turns that into a test case, so you don't have to think, how would I define a test case? Just tell us how you want it, and off it goes. And so these are all available now in preview. Here is an example of the productivity side in our studio, which is our developer interface, where there is you type in the kind of the context of here's what I want to see, do this, do that, and so on, and the scaffolding will be generated for you with the workflow there, and then obviously it gets built out during the course of the automation. So really, really quick and fast way to get into the automation you want. Describe what you need to do and then get into the development of the specifics. If we look at how product and model enhancement, right, especially around document processing, with our document understanding capability inside UiPath, we've recently announced a whole bunch of capability. Active learning's there to just continuously include, bring humans in where needed, when they're not, because the scores are high enough. So really driving quality there. Generative annotation is in GA today, pre-labeling. So we're using GenAI to do that. We're using generative classification, also already released as generally available. GA is generally available, not generative something. So we're conflicting there with some terms. But you see how document processing has really embraced GenAI and embedded that such that there is a much faster and higher quality experience for people looking at documents and how they can turn them into basically digital structured data such that they can act upon them into other applications and so on. Reading contracts to understand stuff, things like that. It's very powerful. When we think about the way we can bring GenAI to others, building your own, these are the three underlying patterns: reader, writer, analyst, doer, and assistant. And the assistant has its own autopilot coming out. But you can see the kind of underlying patterns we've got going there. And if we dig into that a little bit, here's an example of a reader-writer pattern. Just getting data from a lot of places in order to build what we see in the middle, a prompt. So here's the template, and when we roll forward, we see we can take that actual data, populate that, and then pass it through the LLM to generate the output, and there we have our text. So it's not just about getting the output. You've got to really make sure you've got the right data, and then build it in the right format, and use a smart way of prompting the GenAI such that you get the perfect output you're after. This is the combination of the specialist AI, automation, and GenAI to give a really positive output. Let's look at a specific use case, a reader-writer use case there. And this is with OutSystems. Here's an example where in an onboarding scenario where the hiring manager, the humans only interact with the OutSystems app, the robots, the automation happens behind the scenes. And what happens here in step 2 is the hiring manager has the details in step 1. The robot collects all the necessary, both from the human and other sources, passes it to GenAI to generate that offer letter, and then the robot sends that out. So that's a very small example of how GenAI can work on current processes very quickly to just make them a little bit better. And then, of course, as you build more into it and around it, you can make them a lot better. But you see here the interplay of both UiPath and OutSystems together in solving a customer's problem and making their productivity a lot higher. The ways to think about where we think about intelligent automation with UiPath and OutSystems, and these are some core areas of what automation looks like in terms of driving intelligence and through an automated processing. You can see where we complement each other heavily. And this is why we work together so well and why we have mutual customers. By the way, we use your OutSystems for critical systems. OutSystems uses UiPath. So it's all very integrated here in the team you're seeing. And obviously, we do a lot with Persistent, with bringing that to our mutual customers too. So I'm going to throw it to Luis to continue the deep dive into OutSystems.
Great. Thank you, David. Very, very rich session there and super helpful. So taking a step back, so Luis Giraldo, Vice President of Strategic Customers at OutSystems, working with a lot of Fortune 50, Fortune 100 clients, where obviously they have UiPath, and we're working closely with Persistent, many of these, but kind of why we're here. So in the conversations I have kind of day in and day out with a lot of the C-suite, and with probably many of you that are having internally with your own leaders and teams, is that there's, leaders today are faced with an increasing challenge, which is inflation is up, budgets are down, but revenue expectations are above what you have. So it's the classic do more with less. And so when we think about tying it back to sort of why we're here today, and some of what you're hearing from the team here and from Persistent, OutSystems, and UiPath, is obviously automation's been around for quite some time, but this increased importance around moving from just straight through structured and dynamic process flows, but into more from departmental out to end-to-end digital process platforms, and driving more complexity, leveraging low-code, business rules, AI, robotic, RPA, AI, ML. So when you think about sort of the opportunity, as mentioned earlier, the pressures are getting more and more on executives to deliver more significant dividends on digital transformation. So the ability to leverage this technology suite that we're bringing forward to you today. And hopefully that will come very clear in the AssistX solution demonstration is the ability to make the impact needs to be much quicker. And that rapid innovation and rapid deployment of applications to drive not just modernization, but really having a bottom line impact around experience, operational excellence, and driving more cost efficiencies, both from a development standpoint as well as from the user. And so we'll talk a little bit about how OutSystems empowers both of those areas in collaboration with Persistent and UiPath. So just kind of quickly going back through a little bit of from a timeline, which I think is important because low code is a term that tends to get kind of thrown out there because everyone has extended functionality from a low code perspective. It's really around automating software development. If we go back to the systems of record and then really the proliferation of SaaS and in the early 2000s and beyond, we're now in this push to continue to move into more composability. You've heard the term composable enterprise, composable architecture, of trying to drive more agility within IT and having IT act as a business partner, right, to the line of business. And so that's a push from everybody. And there's different initiatives that are underway that are trying to move there. Obviously, automation, hyperautomation is one key initiative of getting there. But that evolution of digital landscapes has basically a dilemma that we're all faced with. And that is, right, you have the basically the focus of do you build or do you buy? And so generally there's a combination of both where build will help you differentiate, but custom development is lengthy, it's laborious, and it's quite costly. And so that's really where OutSystem comes into play, is for those things that typically would require traditional development. How do you do that faster with the same or less resources and drive more productivity and more throughput, but still making sure that it's going to connect and integrate into solutions that you buy off the shelf. And so this is really what we view as more of a coexistence and interoperability across your current technology stack versus looking at OutSystems versus some of the current solutions you have within your ecosystem. So when you think about that, the app development landscape that I think many of us on the call and out there are trying to work through is, what do I choose to drive a number of these initiatives? So when we think about, at least at OutSystems with intelligent automation, it's going to be a portfolio of different products. And obviously UiPath, Persistent, and OutSystems are seeing success in the market together. And so you think about the different options you have. OutSystems is a great catalyst to drive more development throughput and capacity from your resources, be it pro developers or citizen developers, but equally being able to iterate and quickly, rapidly, and prototype out to customers and into your ecosystem. So with all that being said, I think the continued adoption and the market growing, Gartner states, and there's many other third-party resources and analysts that are supporting this claim, is that software development will continue to move into more of a low-code visual sort of development interface. And so that is really where OutSystems has been focused in on for the last 20 years. And we've actually invested in AI for more than 5 years as part of our development process. So we have AI Mentor Studio, which helps a lot of developers with the quality assurance around code that's generated and managing that code, and ultimately repeating and reusing key components that would give all of you the ability to make sure that you're burning down your backlog, but producing quality code and quality high-end UI UX applications. And so enter in OutSystems when you think about high performance low code. It's really, as we think about the evolution of automation into kind of intelligent and hyper automation, it's no longer about simple workflows. This is omni-channel workflows that are complex. And so we think of ourselves as that multi-channel option for you to drive enterprise-grade applications, leveraging technologies like UiPath and great services and expertise from Persistent. So here's just kind of a quick view of OutSystems, 20 years focus in on low-code application development. The term low-code wasn't really, I think, deemed until about 8 years ago by Gartner. So I think we helped define that market, and we continue to be a leader in the Magic Quadrant for the last 6+ years. and our community supports that, and as well as our global footprint. So supporting over 87 countries, 24 plus industries, and a very extensive partner ecosystem and communities to boot. So here are just some of the key industries that we support as a proxy. And then when we think about the common strategies, right, we're talking about obviously unleashing the power of GenAI and hyperautomation. You can probably view all of these as automation opportunities, right? So when we think about the key initiatives that many of our clients come to us to try to solve in collaboration with UiPath and Persistent and others is, how do I simplify? How do I build off the current investments of my legacy stack? How do I simplify, modernize that front-end experience for whether it's an employee or for external consumer? So whether it's B2E or B2C, experience is important. You saw earlier, naturally, whether that's the employee or out to the supplier ecosystem. And then any automation of manual-based processes or legacy-based systems where there's continued focus and emphasis, as we saw earlier, to drive more productivity across operations, employees, and ultimately delivering solutions to market that drive and help you deliver a competitive advantage. Legacy modernization, as Nishay mentioned, as well as a key thing. So we're seeing a lot of opportunities surface in how you transform and actually abstract legacy code from other systems, legacy-based systems, and how do you pull that into a user interaction layer like OutSystems. So I'll touch on this briefly here in a moment, but OutSystems is a full stack development platform where you can leverage both the business, both the data layer, the business logic layer, as well as the front end layer. So depending upon what you're trying to solve, whether it's a net new application build or an existing application that you're trying to migrate and modernize, refactor, replatform, there's different components of the platform that you can use. So quite flexible in that regard. So here's just a customer example where the three organizations have helped support as far as modernizing the UI, and obviously complementary to the RPA process that was in place and helping drive the lifecycle management of insurance policies. So again, 2 times faster, not just from the user perspective, but from a development throughput, probably a third of the time that would be required on a traditional build. So again, it's speed on the development side with the downstream implications on the user that are getting those benefits as well. And some other opportunities that we see as global customers that have benefited from leveraging OutSystems as part of their intelligent automation and hyperautomation strategies. So the platform itself, I'll touch on it quickly. As I mentioned, we've had AI infused into the platform for the last 5 years. We continue to invest into generative AI. We have our own product that we're delivering, but we also are complementing what existing generative AI solutions are in place for customers in banking and financial services and pharma and biotech. And again, this is the full stack capabilities that we look at. So we really view generative AI as a key piece in the development lifecycle. So in that software development lifecycle is going to be crucial, particularly as you see more use cases come on board. The power of generative AI needs to be harnessed. And as David mentioned, human in the loop. So we view that it's important not to just look at rogue code or orphan code as referred to it. So how do you harness that when you're generating so much code in a way that can be utilized, maintained, and managed over time? So the big concern I hear from executives is generative AI is great. There's no shortage of opportunity, as we all see, but how do I govern that appropriately? And how do I not compound on the technical debt that I have today? So that's a big piece for us to focus in on as we build out and continue to invest into generative AI. But again, the full stack capabilities, the integration and ability to connect with multiple systems. We have thousands of connectors, pre-built connectors that support a lot of the existing systems that you have today. Our integrated DevOps lifecycle to support dev, test, and production, and really increasing and rapidly accelerating the whole deployment and release management lifecycle. And then ultimately, all of that is with the goal in mind of ensuring that the application that's being delivered to the user is going to have an elegant, pixel-perfect UI experience. So we see a lot of clients that are leveraging existing technologies to build that better front end with our technology. So as I kind of push through here and kind of wrap up, as I mentioned, we view OutSystems as a key catalyst in collaboration and in partnership with UiPath and Persistent because of what's been built. 20 years solely focused on this with templates in place and connectors in place, and then a console that really serves as a quality code generator, visual drag and drop and development interface for your pro developers, citizen developers to develop mission critical enterprise grade applications. And we're seeing the productivity multipliers in that, right? It's really that compression of that SDLC process and the benefits that you gain. And I think all of us realized back to the kind of the front of my presentation is we all have to do more with less. And there's a hyper emphasis on how do you generate dividends much quicker. And so focusing on the throughput of your development teams, the reusability of components as you continue to build and support more use cases that we know will come about with generative AI, and ultimately continuing to deliver competitive advantage with bringing new products into market to fend off the competition. So that reusability is key, which will have a knock-on effect. And really what we believe at OutSystems that every company is a software company that needs innovation. And we believe IT can help drive that in collaboration with the business. And there's different things that we can share here that you can capture as far as starting your journey with OutSystems. So with that, I went through it fairly quickly. Hopefully that was a good sort of background on why we view kind of enterprise low code and OutSystems as high performance low code relative to other options out in the market. Have a look at these and get started to explore and experiment with OutSystems to see if it's a good fit. I'll pass it over to Chitrell to start to walk you through the solution demo AssistX.
Perfect. Thank you. Thanks, Luis. So my name is Chaitral. I head the Center of Excellence in Solutions for Intelligent Automation Unit at Persistent. I'm here to, demonstrate AssistX framework, which is GenAI powered hyperautomation. And as you can see, AssistX is a kind of framework that we have developed in-house. And we have created the verticalized solutions on these frameworks. As you can see, the Fin Assist Expert, which is specifically focused on the BFSI industry, while an healthcare assist expert is something which is focused on HLS. At the same time, there are HR and IT assist expert, which are for the horizontal businesses. The important piece when we talk about AssistX framework is its capability to automate the contact center operations, and it is made using GenAI engine along with the low code no code platform, which is OutSystems, and the RPA platform, which is UiPath. The benefits that we have observed after experimenting these at multiple places is we have observed a 70% of productivity increase when it comes to contact center operation automation, and that is the kind of differentiator that we have at Persistent, because we are able to amalgamate both Gen AI and low code no code RPA pieces together to have this solution in place. I'll move on to the next and we'll quickly give you a walkthrough of this solution, and I have a demo as well, which we'll go through. So some of the salient features of this solution is, it has the dashboard and the API layer that we have used OutSystems for, because that's the key when we consider OutSystems. As Luis was mentioning, there are multiple features within OutSystems which are AI augmented, may it be like the development or, reducing the technical debt. All of them are being used in AssistX. At the same time, this solution also has a human in the loop, as David mentioned. So, this is a complete package with GenAI. And the contact center operations are being automated not only by using the workflow management from OutSystems, but we are also making sure that we are using the UiPath capabilities to automate and to talk with the legacy systems. So the whole flow starts, and I'll quickly jump into the next slide to explain you the kind of flow that we have implemented. So as you can see, UiPath is being used to fit in the knowledge to the LLM, and the conversations between the human and the contact center agent is the key. And the conversations can be in any form, wherein we are getting the text from those conversations is an important one. So once that conversation has been fed into the LLM engines, what we are doing is we are making sure that we are using the right prompt engineering framework so that we get the right output from that conversation. The summary of the conversation is the key for us to take it forward with the low code, no code OutSystems and the RPA platform, which is UiPath over here. And we are triggering the workflows within OutSystems. We are also making sure that we create those automation steps to talk with the respective systems further. So as you can see, there are responses out there which also can be taken care immediately by the low code no code platform, and we can respond back to the customer queries. I'll quickly jump onto the demo of this application. Yeah, as you can see, the whole dashboard is designed using OutSystems. The integration with the conversation agents or the systems like Genesis also is possible. We are also making sure that this is getting captured properly. And for the sake of the demo, I have preloaded chat over here. And the chat is around having a car loan application, and this is the conversation between the contact center agent and the consumer. As you can see, once the conversation has been submitted, the bot at the bottom of the taskbar, as you can see, it has been started. UiPath is initiated, and we have made use of the Forge components over here, which OutSystems proudly boast about, because there are a lot of components available in OutSystems Forge component. So we are connecting with UiPath bot using OutSystems. We are making sure that UiPath also submits this conversation along with the right prompts to the GenAI engine. Here we are making use of GPT 3.5 Turbo Engine, and at the same time, we have a playground at our GenAI COE, which makes us, use any other LLMs as well, because that is something that we have developed at Persistent. At the same time, as you can see, the whole conversation has been fed, and we have received the summary, and that is where we are talking about human in the loop. Now, as you can see, the conversation is being fed, but we have received the summary. Now, contact center agent can act on it after looking at the summary and looking at the action items. Now, this car loan related application needs to be registered into the systems, which can be any other CRM systems. For now, this is Salesforce is what we are demonstrating, but it can be any other CRM systems wherein we want to register this as a lead for the car loan. As you can see, again, we are communicating back with UiPath, making sure UiPath takes care of the things when it comes to registering the lead in the respective CRM. So here, for the demonstration purpose, we also have shown the output that we have received from the GenAI engine with the right prompts. As you can see, the loan amount, the details like customer names, the type of loan are being captured properly and with very less human interactions, because the only time when contact center agent was acting was to give the go ahead whether the details are correct and should we submit this as a lead. So this, in short, is the complete demonstration right from the start to the end for AssistX framework. Happy to take up any questions as we move along, and over to you.
Okay, great. Yeah, really nice demo. Let me bring everybody into the scene here for the Q&A portion. All right, excellent. So, see, one of the first questions that we have here is what challenges might organizations face in harnessing the power of GenAI and hyperautomation within business processes, and how can these be effectively overcome? Anybody want to jump on that one?
Sure, I can take a shot at that, Scott, and then the rest can chime in. So, I think there are two key challenges that I foresee. One, of course, is how do you choose the right LLM, because there are so many options out there. You choose one from hyperscalers, or do you select a startup or a unicorn, right? That's where I think you bring in the right partners, because the partners can enable, what we call as BYOL, or bring your own LLMs. So, for example, we are LLM agnostic, and we can bring in the best LLM as per the use case and the customer needs. So that's, I think, one of the key challenges that we're already witnessing from our customers. The second, of course, and I think David and Luis both touched upon this, is responsible AI. So the biggest concern with GenAI and hyperautomation today is around trust and security, and you need again a partner that takes care of this. In in the whole implementation process itself. So these are the two biggest ones for me. David, Louis, Chetril, feel free to chime in.
Yeah, this is Luis. Just to add on that last point, so separate from sort of the product selection and the different options there, what, at least from an observational standpoint, what I'm finding is that many organizations are building out their own COE in collaboration with partners. And those that are getting ahead of that governance structure and building out those COE teams are trying to get ahead of those different things that will naturally arise from generative AI use cases. So I'm seeing personally that a lot of the automation divisions and rapid application development practices within these organizations, those same COEs are building out either an extension of that or building out whole new functions to support the generative AI use case and intake process. David, I don't know if you'd add anything.
No, I concur. I think you guys have nailed it. It's holistic too, right? So you can build on a foundation of technology that has to have that trust layer in there, but then the processes and procedures and the way you implement has to extend that. You know, like any compliance is not a technology or a process or people. It's all of the above. And so I think taking a holistic approach and partnering with trusted partners is obviously the best way to start.
Yeah,
Okay.
I also have observed one important thing which is related to the data security, and that is where we have to, have the correct guidelines set up, correct guardrail set up, because that's an important one when we are talking about, securing the data. And with Gen AI, we have to have the layer in between. And as David said, trust layer is one of the example which helps us make sure that we also handle the data securely while getting the outputs from GenAI engine. So that's also the key that we generally should look after.
Okay. Excellent. Excellent. Next question here. Wondering, for organizations considering generative AI and hyperautomation adoption, what practical steps ensure successful implementation and maximize the outlined benefits?
I can probably start again. So I think one of the biggest advice I would have is, I think typically we see customers, they want to ride on to this new technology bandwagon. So Gen AI is the new kid on the block. So, they would take Gen AI and then, sort of look at what use case I can pretty much enable using Gen AI. So almost like taking a hammer and then looking for a nail. I would advise that you explore the use cases and naturally see where, there is opportunity. For example, one of our customers, they were struggling big time with getting accuracy from their intelligent document processing. And this was partly because they had very complex, super noisy documents and a lot of handwritten documents. And we helped them augment their IDP tools with GenAI, and GenAI trained specifically on their documents. And this led to more than 99% accuracy, right? Where they were not even able to achieve 50-60% accuracy earlier. So this is a real world practical example. So that's the biggest advice I would have, that look at the use cases and be smart in exploring the use cases and then go after the GenAI opportunity.
At the same time, we should have the getting process set. We are the center of enablement. In fact, at Persistent, we do support that. We have established a center for enablement for many of our customers that ensures that the getting process for selection of the use cases is properly vetted, and we take those use cases which are filtered and which are best suited for Gen AI based hyperautomation.
Yeah, so I think kind of to add to what has been just stated is we're seeing a lot of this concept of portfolio rationalization or legacy modernization. Israel and Michelle kind of mentioned that earlier as these larger, I would say, initiatives that cover a multitude of use cases. And so I think it's kind of where do you look at the opportunities of where generative AI can produce results pretty quickly. And what we're finding is within that sort of rationalization, there's a knowledge management component of that to drive more productivity, efficiency within operations, employees in whatever task, right? So it could be onboarding, it could be bringing a new drug into the market, it could be any of these kind of front, middle, back office procedural items within any enterprise, regardless of industry. That seems to me as the low-hanging fruit. Now, naturally, depending on the complexity of that, you want to kind of temper probably a medium complexity with higher value type use case initially, because I think all of us need to prove that out within our respective organizations based on the intake process, decision process, and once it gets going, how do you kind of manage that from a governance standpoint? So that overarching initiative, I think, is pretty common. But within that, where's that low hanging fruit that maybe not as complex, but still can release quite a bit of value for the internal enterprise.
Okay, excellent. This next one here, they're wondering, can you share a real world scenario where Gen AI principles enhanced hyperautomation, resulting in notable organizational transformation?
Yeah, the AssistX
Sure.
that we have showcased. Yeah, go ahead, Nisha.
No, go on.
So AssistX is the kind of real world scenario that we have. We have taken that, and currently it is being tested in the UAT. This is being used at one of the organization for having the contact center operations optimized. And then there are other use cases which Nishtay quickly touched upon earlier, which is related to IDP, intelligent document processing. But yeah, over to you, Nishtay, to put your thoughts.
Yeah, no, just to add, I think I touched upon the whole loan processing use case earlier. So that's a real world use case, and this is already being done using intelligent automation today. And we have a lot of accelerators around this use case. And now these accelerators are getting further powered using generative AI, right? And there are multiple areas across this use case that I touched upon, which are getting augmented by GenAI. Similarly, there's KYC. If you look at a large bank, right from ingesting documents to verification of documents and flagging of potential risks, and then the approve reject recommendation using human in the loop, right? Here you have Gen AI. Of course, I mean, you classically have RPA and low code and, the hyper automation technologies, which were already being done in order to improve and transform KYC in banking. And these outcomes are now, augmented further using Gen AI. I think if we move towards, for example, healthcare provider, I think a very popular use case which is emerging is this whole patient note transcription. So, as we all know, I think a lot of patient time is wasted currently on admin-related tasks such as taking notes and manually transferring these over to EHR systems and so on, which leads to physician fatigue. And there's anyway a shortage of physician if you look at US and globally. So generative AI is emerging very prominently in this use case, which is powering automated transcriptions and automated note taking almost in real time as the physician and patients are conversing. And then this integration of Gen AI powered transcription with RPA and low code would again help push it into the relevant systems and automatically capture the notes and also summarize and send, provide key takeaways and automatically push it to the patients as a summary, push it to, different caretakers in the healthcare provider organization. So these are the 2-3 real world scenarios which are already, happening today as we speak.
Yeah, and I think it's still early, even though it's shaken the world. I think people are really building it deeper into their core technology and making sure it's trusted. And I think both of those things need to happen before adoption at scale will happen. But it's going to happen very quickly. From our perspective, like first thing we did, we built it into GA, generally available features inside of our document understanding product, which has many thousands of customers out there, and hundreds of thousands of users, because the processing of documents is such a manual thing, and the authoring of different scenarios throughout the process it just lends itself beautifully to Gen AI without the risk of going off the rails with hallucination or anything like this. They were tight use cases that could really be implemented quickly with so the trust we could establish that very early because there were less complex functional deployments of Gen AI. But as you see that trust layers grow and grow, and the use cases come out, you'll see the adoption for bigger and broader use cases become really, really mainstream.
Okay. Excellent. Yeah, so we're almost up on time, but I really want to squeeze in at least one more question here. This one, they're wondering, in your experience, how does the collaborative strategy by UiPath, Persistent Systems, and OutSystems contribute to creating a seamless ecosystem? And what advice do you have for businesses wanting to leverage low-code Gen AI and hyperautomation?
That's a big question. Who wants to start with that?
So yeah, maybe I can kickstart and then.
Yeah, why don't you kickstart and you say, and then I'll layer in. Go ahead.
Sure, absolutely. So I think we touched upon the collaboration and the deep partnership we have between UiPath, OutSystems, and Persistent, and collectively, I think a lot of experience within the intelligent automation space, and we have also been frontrunners in the whole AI/ML approach, right? That's been a core differentiator, and now we're replicating that with generative AI as well. So Chetril touched upon AssistX, which is an important step towards that. I think the question is around providing a seamless ecosystem, and this, as you saw, is a seamless use case, which essentially enables both Gen AI and hyperautomation, flawlessly. And this is truly revolutionizing the contact center space. Chetril mentioned how there's a lot of interest already on this solution, and we've done multiple numbers of POCs, and actual implementations are also happening very soon. So what we're also doing is we're building highly verticalized use cases on top of AssistX. So we are fine-tuning the LLMs to make it very industry specific, such as training LLMs for BFSI, training LLMs for healthcare, and so on. So this is what I think the partnership is about. In terms of the advice for businesses, I think the advice would be to start small. Like I said earlier, prioritize the use cases which you want to explore for Gen AI. Of course, it's imperative to run POCs and test the waters before you go full dive in. And like David said, I think it's also equally critical to look at this whole trust and looking at responsible AI. And yeah, I mean, the last thing I would say is that most of the organizations already have an automation COE in place. It'll be important to transform that automation COE and extend that, to also include Gen AI. Don't look at Gen AI and automation as two separate siloed, technology areas. But there's a lot of value if you augment your existing automation efforts using Gen AI, right? Because there's a lot of use cases, like I said, at the intersection of automation and Gen AI. So that's my sort of take on this, loaded question. David, Lewis, Chetril, feel free to chime in.
No, just quickly on the last point to build from, I think that extension off the current automation practices is an important one, because I think there's natural synergies with a lot of, obviously, the tools we're talking about here, low code, Gen AI, RPA, and more. So I think that's definitely best practice. And I would just say that when you think about, again, the solutions that are complementary, right? Generative AI can do some of the initial abstraction or extraction of the data from these large language models, right? And there's going to be training those and improving those to not make sure they're not biased. Then you have RPA within, UiPath and low code within OutSystems as a way to help automate these more complex workflows that span different areas, from middle back office, as an example, to drive more efficiencies, but also quality assurance around code that's being generated into an application that a user is accessing. But then knowing that that's naturally going to have to be a lot of continuous improvement and development on that. And so when you think about these technologies, I think you have to look at those that are already familiar with automation tools, that now you have more ability to address these complex workflows. And you've got an alliance here that I think can contribute to a big chunk of solving, whether it's contact center, whether it's onboarding, whether it's claims processing, or whether it's fraud or compliance or detection within banking and financial services. So I think the use cases will be many. The practice, though, needs to be foundational and set up, and then thinking about the the tools here and others that can contribute to addressing those different, complex case management type use cases and workflows.
Excellent. Great details. And this is just a quick reminder to everybody as we're getting close to wrapping up here. This is your last chance to grab one of the resources or all of the resources out of the handout section. Just a ton of great reports and videos and opportunities to schedule a demo. But at this point, Nishay, David, Luis, and Chitral, thank you guys all for putting together a really informative presentation. You guys got a ton of kudos from the audience about how informative this was and how timely. This has just been a fantastic discussion, and really appreciate you guys all coming on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate the time.
Thanks a lot.
All right.
Thank you.
And now we have one more piece of business, and that is the Amazon gift card prize drawing. And the winner of the $250 Amazon gift card today is Morgan King from Utah. So congratulations to Morgan King. We'll be in touch to get you your card. And with that, on behalf of the Actual Tech Media team, I want to thank Persistent, OutSystems, and UiPath for making this event possible. And thanks as always for attending and for your great questions. That's going to conclude today's event. Have a fantastic rest of your day.